In a divided world, the one thing everyone seems to agree on is that the media is some kind of conspiracy.
And here's the thing. Media is a conspiracy, just not the one everyone thinks it is.
I'm Naeema Raza.
I'm Ben Smith.
And this is Mixed Signals from Semaphore Media. Every Friday between now and November, we're going to pull back the curtain on the stories everyone is talking about.
Exploring how money, politics, culture, and access shape everything you read, watch, and listen to.
Mixed Signals, a look inside modern media from people inside the machine.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we talk about those films we think deserve a little bit more love. Whether they're underrated or underseen or another reason, we're going to talk about them. So, let's see what it's going to be this week. Hello, I'm the host for this week, Josh Allen, and I'm joined as ever by my co-host, Jamie Allerton. Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to see that your voice is coming on for, what's that, BBC Radio 4? Maybe?
Yeah, well, I keep trying, but they keep knocking me back. But yeah.
It genuinely, like, I find the hardest part of my podcast is doing the introduction.
Because you can't take yourself seriously.
Yeah, and I always forget what
I
the
take
podcast
myself
is
very
about.
serious. You got to back yourself.
I don't know why you're wearing a tie for this, but yeah.
Yeah, anyway, the shipping forecast after this. But anyway, so Jamie, we're talking about Rise of the Guardians this week from 2012. Now, before we get into it, Jamie, this is not the one, as we discussed off mic, or possibly on mic, I can't remember. This is not the Owl one.
It's not Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's not Legend
not,
of the Guardians,
the
Owls of Ga'Hoole.
That's the one, the Owl one. And yeah, and Groot and Rocket and all that aren't in it. There's no 80s soundtrack or anything like that. So, spoiler warnings if you've not seen Rise of the Guardians in 2012. But Jamie, you picked this one. You've already said coming into this, you're so excited to talk about it. So tell the guys at home a little bit about what it's about, but more importantly, why did you pick it?
So, DreamWorks' Rise of the Guardians features a star-studded cast that sees Jack Frost join forces with mythical heroes, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, and Father Christmas, and collectively they're known as the Guardians, to take down the sinister boogeyman, Pitch Black. And this is probably my go-to, I've got COVID, I'm going to watch a film.
Right, like a sick day, duvet day film. Yeah.
Like I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. Obviously, I'm a big cyclist, and when I was cycling in London once, I got hit by an Amazon van. Second I got in, well, after filling out like all the...
The second you got it.
Second I got in, like blood dripping off me, I was like, we're getting Rise of the Guardians. My housemates were like, this isn't your flat, who are you? And I was like...
You got concussion. Yeah. Put Rise of the Guardians on.
Just counting the fingers on my hand. 15. Yes. Rise of the Guardians.
So this is your DVD film then. How did you come to this film? Because obviously, I don't want to shock anyone at home, but you wouldn't have been the target audience when it came out. So how did you come to it?
Well, judging by the disappointment of the box office, I might have been the only target audience.
You were the target audience.
This is a cinema film that me and when I went to university, I was with like a bunch of dweebs who also studied film, so we'd see everything, even to the point that kind of went to see Twilight, and people would be looking at us like, "Why are you here to see Twilight?" Like, I can watch what I want. And this was a cinema film with me and my friend, and when we came out, we were like, "That was a very good children's film. I'm sure it's going to do really well and become a successful franchise." And then 2012, obviously, that's like just on the cusp of like social media and stuff like that. So you wouldn't really look to see like what is trending, what's doing well. So we didn't know that this was about to be like a massive disappointment. Like spoilers for, I've kind of showed the box office there. This nearly crushed DreamWorks.
Which is no mean feat, because it is built on Shrek, that place. Yeah. And Kung Fu Panda? Is that
Kung Fu
DreamWorks,
Panda,
or is that
DreamWorks,
Illumination?
yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was
No, it's DreamWorks, yeah.
Yeah. So, Underseen then, is that why you picked it?
Yeah, well, I'd say underseen and maybe under-reviewed. But again, I'm going to annoy everyone by always over-reviewing the films that I love. To the point that I want us getting complaints. I want people being like,
thanks, mate. I appreciate that. You basically want to do as much damage as you can.
Any kind of engagement is good engagement, okay? If we're getting retweeted because people are like, this guy doesn't know what he knows, get him off. He's a terrible new co-host. We'll be like, I'm sorry, all I see there is retweets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I love it. And also, I think like, obviously the building block of your podcast here that I've now come on for a bit for is to tell people about those films that maybe they haven't heard of.
Yeah,
I think this is a great kids film, and also it's an Easter film. You don't get a lot of Easter films. Like it's very subtly an Easter film because DreamWorks decided to release it in November.
Right. I was going to say I can't think. The only other Easter film I can think of would be Hop. And I only know that because it's obviously an Easter film because it's about the Easter Bunny.
Yeah. Well, I think someone's forgetting the Passion of the Christ, aren't they?
Sorry, yeah. All right, non-religious.
Come on, kids. Films. Come on, kids. We're going to get round, eat your chocolate.
Yeah.
And we're going to bang on Passion of the Christ. That's Jim Caviezel's kidney hanging out. That's good, isn't it?
Hey, look at that. Okay, so let's get stuck into it then. So you picked it because you think it's sort of underseen / under-reviewed. So now you've got a lot to say about this film. So what do you like about this film?
Are you keeping it a surprise to me whether you like it or not?
Do you want to know?
I'd love to know.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. No, I did. I liked it. I went into this. I enjoyed it for the most part. Really, really enjoyed it. I went into it. I knew the plot. Obviously, we've made a joke at the beginning there, but I did genuinely
They're all owls, obviously.
Think about the owl thing. I knew obviously it wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy, but I thought about the owl thing. But once you cleared that up to me, I was like, right, okay. And then when you said, it's all of the folklore figures, if you like, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that. Which again, probably goes some way to answering the question of whether or not it is underseen. Not that if I've not seen it, it's not underseen, but the fact that I knew the plot, but didn't immediately associate it with the title or whatever. But no, I enjoyed it. I mean, first impressions for me are it's a great concept and it's executed pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got at the top of my list of like, what did I like about it? The world building. I think the world building is phenomenal. Kind of the way that each of them kind of have their own world or zone, kind of like in the Crystal Maze, where it's like, okay, now. And I was looking at like the Easter bunnies. Well, they kind of did research on old temples and hieroglyphs and ancient carvings, and each one feels different, and it all feels like a new take on that like mythology. The Father Christmas is like a Russian gangster. Yeah,
he's got like all the tattoos and everything, hasn't he?
If people listen to this, just have a look at the poster, and he's got naughty and nice tattooed on him. But I think it's like a lot of his tattoos are based on like old prison gangster tattoos,
like sort of like gulag people who got out of gulags and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of attention to detail. Like I only realised reading up on this. To get into Pitcher's realm or the boogeyman's realm, you have to go under a bed. His entrance is under a bed, which is obviously that's where the boogeyman.
That's where he sleeps. Well, where
lives,
he is. Yeah. No, it is. It's really good. It's almost got that slight educational side to it, which is it's trying to introduce kids to these characters, but do you know where they're from? And obviously, if you tell them it's educational, they're probably going to be not that interested to watch it, or maybe some of them will, I don't know. But by making it that sort of slightly educational and introducing all the folklore and the multicultural element to it, I thought it just brought that extra layer of depth to it. I thought it was really good. Like you say, the world building, it's just, the rules of the world. It's fairly simple to understand, and it does really well on that front.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an absolute dork, you want to educate your kids, but...
you don't want to educate your kids, do you? What's the point of that?
That's probably why I bombed, because they were like, oh, God, I learned something. Kids, close your eyes. Well, like, you even have the Spanish mouse, when the tooth fairies are...
it's like another tooth fairy, but like European regiment or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like that's because culturally it's not always fairies. In Spain, they have a mouse.
Yeah.
Although I think, like, the French national anthem plays over it, but I've looked into it, and that's the mouse originated from Spain. I guess, they just go across the border. Don't have to show the little mouse passport, do they?
The little mouse passport. No, you're right. I mean, it is largely fairly westernized figures of folklore and stuff like that. But I do get the impression that obviously, had it not done that badly at the box office, this was probably going to be the start of something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe culturally, it's for the best that we didn't find out who the leprechaun was. Yeah. That would have been deeply offensive.
Well, they could have done one about the fact that the Japanese people go to KFC on Christmas Day. I'm not too sure how it works with Father Christmas over there, but I do know they go to KFC on Christmas Day. What else do you like about it?
So, like, connected to that, Jack has a different dynamic to every character. It's not just, oh, you're a bunch of dorks, I don't want to join. Or even, and also what I did like in terms of the story is that it wasn't, here's Jack who has looked up to these group of heroes and he's desperate to join, and him messing up. It's actually, he looks down on all of them, but he has, he's got that, like, the relationship that, like, you most see is him and the bunny is like, they don't like each other.
Bit alpha, yeah.
Yeah, but then also he kind of, is he flirting a bit with the Tooth Fairy? Like, you can kind of, there's something there, isn't there? I didn't make it up.
There's chemistry. There's chemistry between the two.
And I think he kind of looks up to Santa Claus while still mocking what he's put together, and then he like completely respects Sandy. Like, it's different dynamics that they all each have with each other, which I quite like, that it wasn't just lazily written as Jack takes the mick out of them as a group.
Because when I was reading around it, I read that the whole thing with the Easter Bunny and Jack Frost, as he says, they didn't get on because of a snowstorm in, like, the 60s, and that's real.
Yeah.
So it's a real snowstorm that happened, and that obviously meant that Easter wasn't as, people couldn't travel to see their families and stuff, so it was a bit like, basically it was a bit of a write-off that year, so they could blame Jack Frost. I thought I quite like that element to it. Again, that sort of world building and depth, and by rooting it in something everyone knows and then bringing the fantastical element on top of that, I think that's what really triumphs in it, what really works.
Yeah, I can imagine the writer's room when they did this, it was kind of like bringing in, what about this? What about this that really, really happened? What if we say you were responsible for the Mary Celeste, or, all these real things. And it felt like a lived-in world as well. And it did that classic thing that kids' films do, where you don't get to see any real adults, because you start to question then their relationship to these. Like with Christmas films, as soon as you show me too much of an adult, I'm like, well, are you not finding it weird that there's a new present there that you didn't buy? This? Yeah.
But, no, you're right. Yeah, you only see like half a face, don't you, or whatever.
Yeah, because you don't want to think that much about like what do adults do in this world. The voice acting as well, I think, like the quality that they've got here is great. I think Chris Pine, like, he really emotes well, and he's got a likable voice.
Yeah. You got Chris Pine, Isla Fisher, Alec Baldwin, Hugh Jackman, and Jude Law's the villain, isn't he? So really stacked cast, like really, really stacked cast. But I think what they do really well is they're not just, to some extent, they are just doing their own voices, because that's what voice acting is, and also there's an element of having to be recognisable in order to sell the film. But at the same time, like, they do a good job of building a character. Like, Hugh Jackman isn't just doing Hugh Jackman's voice, for example, was the first one that came to mind. He does this sort of like gruff, almost like, he's more like his character in Australia than he is.
Yeah, he's an outback Australian, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like proper outbacker type thing.
And I think Alec Baldwin's the MVP on this as well.
Yeah, no, he's just greght. Yeah,
he's just so full of joy. And you were saying before we started recording how you don't think he's ever done anything wrong. Like, I'm a massive fan of, like, everything that you do, and also the humor as well. I think, like, every joke in this for me lands. There's a bit that makes me laugh out loud where they go into Jamie's room, and Jamie's woke up. I'm talking about the character. This isn't me in third person. But there's the main little child in it is called Jamie, and he wakes up and they go, Sandy, quick, knock him out, because Sandy's the Sandman, so he can make people fall asleep. But instead, Sandy starts punching his palm as if he's going to just go deck him. I kind of like, it's got like a bit of a dark bit of humor to it as well on top of that. And I don't, with kids' films, sometimes the jokes are like, oh, like, I don't begrudge the Kung Fu Panda films, but a lot of it is just and he's fell over and his bum showing.
Yeah, and then he farted.
Yeah,
It's all that sort of stuff. No, I like that element of it. We've talked about, we've done other films before where I think if you're going to have a film like this, you do need to have those jokes in it that are like almost like going to the parents. Listen, it's for you. This, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you kind of wonder what could Pixar have done with this, and I only mean that in terms of the marketing because I think it's a great film.
Yeah, if this is Pixar, it's doing at least twice the money.
Yeah, and we're maybe in number 3, we're starting to see that romance between Tooth Fairy and Jack. And also, like, everyone's got a strong arc. I mean, Jack's got a really strong arc, and a scene that I really take away with this is when Santa shows him the Russia doll, and he says, "What is your center?" And then Jack realizes, "Oh, my center is fun." And as I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, I don't think I'd be a stand-up if I hadn't watched this film. I think if I hadn't like worked out what my core is, like."
So it's this film's fault.
It's this film's fault why I got kicked out of that club the other week, because you can't say anything these days, honestly.
No. And they were being noisy.
Yeah. I don't care if you need the defibrillator. Wait till the break. I mean, don't worry, I've got some dislikes. Don't you worry.
Well, let's get on to them then. So, what's in the column for you? What's in the dislike column for you? Not enough owls, not enough Groot.
Yeah, I watched this thinking it was the Owls of Ga'Hoole. I mean, did you have any more likes before?
No, I mean, you pretty much touched on everything there. Really colourful, really, really well done in that sense. I have the odd dislike as well in terms of the tone, but we'll come to you first.
So this is really pernickety, but the Tooth Fairy mission does not make sense because of how the globe works. The world is constantly going on. So the way they play it, like all the Tooth Fairy, like little Tooth Fairies have been kidnapped, and they're like, "Oh no, we need to go and switch all the teeth out." That mission would just never end.
Yeah, because it's all about like the kids. If the kids don't believe in them, they'll lose their power. So because that's sort of what the boogeyman's plan is to make people stop believing in each of them. So like you say, does he take all the teeth? He captures all the fairies, so that
he takes all the fairies.
For one night, the kids don't get money for the teeth.
Yeah, but like, so they by the end of it, that mission is a success, and I really like the way it's a very fun set piece of them all doing different methods, and it's like that friendly competition that they've got. But I know it's a thing that a kid would not think about unless they were like really on it. The second that they stop to go, we've collected all these teeth. It's still ongoing. Night is still somewhere else in the world, and there are still kids waking up going, like, at the second you stop it, because them Tooth Fairies are constantly picking up teeth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you're basically saying it would never end because the world's always turning. So by the time they catch themselves coming backwards, basically.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's only the same idea of how does Father Christmas deliver all the presents in one night. It's just magic,
Cocaine.
isn't it? Yeah. Performance enhancing drugs. No, but it's just magic, isn't it? I suppose that's the idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, no, that's only like a slight thing, and I think considering they're trying to be educational in other areas, they missed a chance to like really educate you about the differences in the world in other ways. Like when the Easter Bunny says, tomorrow all over the world it'll be spring, and you're like, well, it won't be because in Australia, your home country, it's going to be autumn. So you're misleading people.
Maybe he was kicked out of Australia.
Yeah, that's it. Because he kept telling people it was spring, and they were like, no, stupid rabbit. And this one, I genuinely, I'm not underplaying this. The moon is a dick. I think the man in the moon. Yeah, I don't like, because if Pitch Black had not kind of resurrected and come back and had his evil plan, would the moon have just carried on not letting Jack know who he was or what? Like, he wouldn't have become a Guardian. He only becomes a Guardian because there's like, oh, there's an Avengers level threat here, and the Owls of Ga'Hoole are busy, so we best get. like, it's so mean to resurrect Jack,
it's
get rid of his memories, and then just let him crack on and not tell him what his
just sadistic,
purpose is.
just torturing this poor guy.
Yeah, and then at moments they're like, like he says, "Oh, the moon told me that my name was Jack Frost," so the moon can communicate. And every night, Jack like looks up and he's like, "What am I doing here? I have no purpose."
Hundreds of years.
Yeah, 300 years.
So the moon's, but then I suppose he's meant to be omnipresent, omniscient, whatever you want to call it. So he probably knows that this threat's going to happen, or she knows that it's going to happen. So I don't know. Maybe again, it's one of those things you just have to go. It's magic.
I know, but it just, I feel so bad for Jack.
I know, yeah.
But also when the two fairies the two fairies are aware of Jack, when she's like, "Oh, I've had your memories the whole time.
Yeah,
do you want them?" It's like such an easy fix.
Yeah, it's like everyone's got it. I suppose they're just putting him through the ringer so he gets to be Guardian.
Yeah, but I just think the moon should never communicate with anyone directly at all. Like, fine for him to be Jack Frost, but don't be like, "I heard these words once, you're Jack Frost," and then the moon just stopped ever talking to me ever again.
It'd have to be a bit more like he takes something from something, but the moon's not. If the moon can speak, the moon should be like, "Oh, this is what happened," instead of just whispering in his ear or whatever, because that's just just taking a piss out of it, basically, isn't it? By
the way, your sister and like mum and dad are still alive. You can go watch them if you want, and wait for them to die, because you're now this guardian of winter. Yeah,
well, that's the thing as well. If he waits 100 years to tell him everyone he ever knew's dead. Yeah. So, by the way, everyone you ever know and loved is dead. Yeah. Gone.
Unfortunately, your mum died from pneumonia, which you gave her by giving the whole town a chill. Sorry.
Yeah, because it was a long time ago. Medicine wasn't very good, so none of them saw 50.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
But you're alive, and you never wear shoes. Also, is he cold? Does he feel cold all the time?
No, I think he's like immune to the temperature.
That makes me feel more comfortable knowing that. And also, like, the only other dislike I've got, and I told you this when I said we're doing this one, I genuinely think this has one of the worst last lines in a film. I really hate it.
Now.
It's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler if you haven't watched it yet, because obviously he does become a guardian. But he says, "My name's Jack Frost. I know that I'm a guardian because the moon told me so. And when the moon tells you something, believe it." What is that? What is that?
Yeah, that's the last thing on a Friday. We need that script. Yeah, the moon told me something.
Because it's really, when he has his goodbye with Jamie, and that's really heartfelt. And then just when the moon tells you something, believe it. That's not even a thing. It's not a thing culturally. No one. No. Who gets
you are right. That is very good. It's not up there with the 2015 Fantastic Four, which is bad. But I suppose the thing with that is there is no last line. It's just the implication of the last line.
Yeah, we should be the Fantastic guys. Wait a minute, what was that?
Anything else with the dislikes, Colin, for you?
Nothing. Absolutely love this film. Right, I'm ready for. I'm going to turn off my headphones so you can do your rant.
Well, so the only thing really for me is, and we've come across this before with films like this, is I think it's a bit muddled in terms of the audience. Obviously, when it comes to kids' films, it's more specific, which is which kids is it for? Because I wonder if it's a bit too young for your 9 and 10-year-olds and a bit too old for your little kids. So I've got a 4-year-old niece, and I asked my sister if she'd seen this, and she said yeah, and I said, what did you think? And she said she didn't really get it. She just sort of liked the rabbit and was very scared of Pitch Black. One idiot. No,
time to disown you.
Yeah. No, but I think that's obviously a good barometer of perhaps it's a bit too grown up for the little kids and a bit too little for the more mature kids.
I think maybe I'm being.
If you're getting past 10, at this point they just want to watch Marvel films and play Minecraft or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think I'm being selfish tonally there in that I love the tone of this because it does have them darker moments. But yeah, a young kid would be scared of Pitch Black. I think because Jude Law he's got a very delicious voice.
He does. He has a great voice for villains. He has a great voice. Generally, he has a great voice for villains. But I think, I think that's the one thing tonally, because there is jokes in it. There is jokes in it, but I think there's not. It's not like Pixar where you've got like a running joke through the film, and it's like, oh, where's the seagulls in Finding Nemo, or where are the aliens from Toy Story that people will laugh at. There are jokes, and they try stuff, particularly with Father Christmas has got these Yetis, and they try stuff with them. It's sort of quite funny, but it's not really consistent. I thought that was a little bit loose in terms of that side of the narrative and the tone, but not like in a criminal way. I can just see why, if word of mouth did get round, it might be like, well, it's not for this bunch of kids, and it ain't for this bunch of kids, so by proxy, that's none of them.
It's for Jamie Allen.
It's just for Jamie Allen. Yeah, that's why the kid's called Jamie. That's why they spent probably 200 million quid on this and another 100 million on marketing or whatever. But no,
they should have just
massive...
messaged me.
Yeah, just someone sits by your bed and tells you the story. But there's no massive offenders in there for me. Just a bit tonally muddled. Okay, so we'll move on to the critical reception and the box office then. So obviously the main reason you picked it is that you think it's underseen. But let's look at the scores anyway and see how it did. Have you got the scores?
I have. I've got IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes as well. So
let's have a look.
I know you like to do the maths on this, so I haven't done the maths.
I'll do the maths, don't worry.
So IMDb.
Yeah.
Have you looked at them? Do you want to take a guess?
I think... From what I haven't looked at the scores, but I think from what you've said, I think it probably did okay critically. It's just that people didn't go and see it. So I think it's probably looking at like a high 6, 7 out of 10 as an average sort of thing. And I think that'd be fair. I think that'd be fair. That'd be fair for me. But let's hear them. Let's hear the scores.
So IMDb 7.2.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes 74% on reviewers.
Okay.
And then audience score, so proud of my guys here, 80%.
80%. So that averages out then to 75. So that's a little higher than I thought it would be, but I think I would say that's fair. What would you say?
I mean, I know I do this all the time, but I think it needs bumping up a little bit, because generally the only thing I don't like is that last line, which when you think about it, that's a throwaway, really. Yeah. I think this is like an 85 for me.
Okay. Well, what we tend to do in that sense, we've got a split decision, we'll put it to a Twitter vote. But I'd be happy to give you that. I think that's fair enough. So box office wise, then how did it do? Because that's the main thing we're looking at here.
So budget of 150.
Gee, that's so much, isn't it?
I know. Took 300.
Which probably broke even.
Well, but then they're saying this was considered a failure and cost the studio 80 million. So there's a lot of hidden costs on there. It must be like a lot of backhand deals that were guaranteed, stuff like that.
Yeah, they went big on the marketing.
Because when I saw that 300 million, I was like, oh, I thought this must have like fully bombed.
Yeah.
But this did so badly that they had to close down projects that they'd planned to do that weren't associated with it, but that they'd kind of set aside the guaranteed profit to do. Because like 300 from 150, it's double. And obviously, we do market and all that, but this is like considered a colossal failure from DreamWorks. Yeah,
it's a strange one, that, isn't it? Because all the elements are there. All the elements are there to succeed. So I do wonder why it was considered such a failure. Or is it because they thought, thinking of that at the time as well, 2012, they're all going for those £1 billion, animated films. They're all trying to get the newest, Shrek 3 or Kung Fu Panda, Despicable Me. That's what they're all going for, is that nice and broad but absolute money-making machine with toys and, Happy Meal stuff and all that sort of stuff. And all those elements are there. So either they really messed up the marketing. I do have to wonder, based on what you said, if it's something to do with the release date.
Yeah, well, I think tonally it is off, because you can put Shrek and Kung Fu Panda side by side and go, it's big, bright, silly, loud noises, but with those adult jokes thrown in there, especially Shrek. Like, I would go watch a Shrek now as an adult on my own at the back of the cinema. But it's tonally, this is all over the place a bit in terms of its intent.
And maybe it's that sort of, we took our 4-year-old to watch it, they were just upset the whole time. Or we took our 9-year-old to watch it, and they were just bored the whole time. It's a strange one because we're both in our 30s and we both liked it.
That's what I mean. Is that those kids who would have enjoyed it, they wouldn't have grown out of it. It's like the Goonies, where if you love it as a kid, you don't grow out of it. But I think like the Despicable Me's, if you love that as a kid, you've probably grown out of it now and gone, oh, it's a lot of like bouncing up and down and loud noises there for the sake of I mean, farts are pretty funny, Josh.
Yeah, universally, so I'd say. I in that case, we're saying underseen and underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the hit on it being rated.
Yeah, okay,
perfectly. Although if we put it to the Twitter, it means we get that engagement up.
Yeah, we'll get that engagement up. Yeah, that's what we're all about. We're all about the blue ticks.
But yeah, I definitely think it's underseen because like no one talks about this film, no one makes references to it, and every year on Twitter I talk about like who's the sexiest Santa in cinema, and
Russian
genuinely
like Santa.
Yeah. He's a daddy. He's a daddy Santa.
He's definitely a bear.
Yeah.
Which we talk about as a kid's film. But anyway, so Rise of the Guardians is underseen, and we'll put the rated side of things to a vote. We'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. We're on all the social medias. If you just search for Just Films and That, you'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. We're on Patreon as well. If you go to the show notes, you can get the Patreon. If you can throw a little bit of money towards us, any support you can give us is appreciated. And for £1 a month, you get a few bits and bobs, ad-free extended episodes with early access. We'll be back next week. It's goodbye from me. Cheerio.
Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.
In a divided world, the one thing everyone seems to agree on is that the media is some kind of conspiracy.
And here's the thing. Media is a conspiracy, just not the one everyone thinks it is.
I'm Naima Raza.
I'm Ben Smith.
And this is Mixed Signals from Semaphore Media. Every Friday between now and November, we're going to pull back the curtain on the stories everyone is talking about.
Exploring how money, politics, culture, and access shape everything you read, watch, and listen to.
Mixed Signals, a look inside modern media from people inside the machine.
Wherever you get your podcasts.